Well, let me ask
Wouldn't
you
be
this
fun.
question. How are you feeling about I know Mike Norvell. I see a lot of people in the chat saying Mike Norvell is trash, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm pretty familiar with Norvell. Tell me a little bit more about what Florida State has at coordinator. Does the Florida State fan base feel good about what they have at OC and DC going into this year?
Yeah. That Carter, by the way, it's the
Yeah.
Miami contingent showing up for the Florida State show.
Hey,
that is what you're reading right there.
We have Miami fans. This is practically Florida State / Miami show every week on Wednesdays. But no, yeah, going back to your question, offense isn't going to change much. Florida State lost Kenny Dillingham. He was quarterbacks and OC. He was a little bit more hands-on than maybe just Norvell calling plays last year. Now it'll be Norvell and Coach Atkins, the offensive line coach that got promoted. Nothing's going to change really offense-wise. Nothing's going to change there. Not expecting Coach Atkins to jump in and start calling plays, yada, yada. And, Atkins kind of talked about that in the beginning of the spring. Like, no, nothing's changing there much. He'll definitely be hands-on, but he's been always hands-on. So nothing's going to change there defensively. As long as we've always been talking about Florida State's offensive line and their woes there, but to go to defensive coordinator too. And Florida State has had that since that national championship of defensive coordinators that Florida State fans have not been that much of a fan of. I think Adam Fuller's I think he's a good coach. I think he is. He's had some very questionable situations, I'd say, that I think the fan base definitely gets riled up about. They've been through it before where Florida State can't make a stop on third down. It could be 3rd and 12, 3rd and 25, 3rd and 32, where Florida State just for some reason can't make a play. And, that's caused a lot of the fan base to get riled up. I will say, though, being around the program and being at the practices this whole entire spring, this is going to have to be the side of the ball that carries, at least for the overall season, not even looking at this game. But I think this defense is going to be their strongest unit heading out there on Saturdays. And I think for what, we talked about some young defensive backs, very talented. You got a linebacker room you're building. Fuller has what he needs now on that defensive side of the ball. And now it's time to deliver. And it's time to deliver for a lot of members on this staff. There's a lot of members that have to deliver, but probably Fuller, one of the bigger guys that you feel now you've got your players, you're in your third-year system. Things got to click there where you're not allowing some of these teams to be scoring as many points as they are, or you're allowing, I'm not going to bring it up again, but allowing some scary things to happen to you where it should never, ever happen again.
Yeah, I think, the big key here is all the pressures on Norvell in this matchup. I know Brian Kelly's going into this game, it being the first year after what happened with Coach O, but Brian Kelly has essentially $100 million guaranteed over the next 10 years, right? And Brian Kelly, if there is a strength, and he's got weaknesses, if there is a strength, it's winning as a favorite. He's won his last 40 games as a betting favorite, and he's won 94% of his, I think, over the past 5 years, games as a favorite. So if there is one thing he's good at, it's when he has as good or better talent, he wins those games. Now, what's very interesting, guys, is LSU has made 2 of the more interesting coordinator hires in the country, bringing in Matt House from the NFL, who's not called plays since 2018. And then, of course, you bring one of the best offensive play callers of the past few years at Cincinnati, coming over, Mike Denbrock, who used to be with Brian Kelly. Now, those are huge shifts for them, as it would be anyone going into LSU. So that's why I asked about the coordinators, because, there's a lot of pressure under them, in particular Matt House, because Durante Jones at the end of last year was a very popular guy. Matt House comes in and he has a lot of pressure. This is going to be his first time between the headsets in quite some time. He was just a position coach at the NFL level. So we'll see what happens with Coach House.